Kenny, the Pirates got another split this past weekend at home against the Tacoma area schools, defeating Pacific Lutheran and falling to first place Puget Sound. Uh, you take us back through the weekend and what you bring out of that with this team.
Yeah, starting with the game against PLU on Friday night, the game probably went as expected as we could as far as what the style of the game looked like. I mean, it was a very slow-paced game. It was the lowest possessions of the year we've had, which kind of reflected obviously the scoreline. So we were very happy with our performance for probably 25 to 30 minutes of that. We had some slow little lulls in there, which, fast forwarding to Saturday night really carried over, and that wasn't a good verdict for us. But as far as Friday night went, it was good, really kind of holding the PLU team to a low amount of points, just given the style of basketball that they play, and really taking away a lot of things, which was good to see as far as game plan execution from our team, coming out of a weekend last weekend on the road where we wanted to sharpen in on some of our run-through and game plan things. And then going to Saturday night, as you mentioned, against a really good Puget Sound squad. We knew that they were going to come in, fighting and hungry after, their first loss in the conference season so far. Weren't able to really meet the intensity that we needed to start that game, and then kind of just had a uphill battle there where turnovers kind of bit us throughout the course of the 40 minutes. And it was, in my perspective and the coaching staff, that not the team that we had seen really make a ton of improvements over the last 6 weeks from when we saw that team the last time. I thought we'd have more success. Whether that result would have been different, turning from a loss to a win, it was just not really the team that we expected to see on our end. So that was disappointing, just because we thought we had made a lot of strides. But as far as the togetherness of the group, we really think that hopefully we make some strides, knowing what the top end of our conference does look like, and we'll need to raise that level going forward.
It seems like with this team, in a lot of games this year, how the first 5 minutes of the game goes dictates how the game ends up. Is that kind of how a younger team generally learns to find its way? Is getting past that initial start of the game, or how do you interpret that as the coach this year?
I would almost think that we battle even from some of our scrimmage and exhibition stuff way back in early November this year. There's a 5-minute stretch that sets the tone, and it doesn't have to be the first 5 minutes of the game. I mean, in some of our games where we had leads late or early in fourth quarters, then we had a lull of 5 minutes. I think that was more of a reflection. So because we've had games where we had a great first quarter. When I think of our game down to Whittier, the UPS down there, it's like Earl at their place. We had some really good 5-minute stretches early in games, even good first quarters or first halves, and then we had a bad 5-minute stretch to finish a third quarter. So it wasn't necessarily the first 5 minutes, because we've responded well to either poor starts or teams runs that they have against us, but it's really just a bad kind of 4 to 6 minute stretch where we've kind of struggled and given up an 8-point lead and kind of had to fight and claw back into things. Like even the PLU game on Friday night, I think we got up 23 the first 5 minutes of the third quarter, and then they responded, I think, with something like maybe a 14-4 run or something kind of like that. Then they got it down to 7, So even though we've started games well in some hands or not, we've been able to kind of right the ship, but sometimes we just kind of take our hands off the wheel a little bit. So it's not just the first 5 minutes for us that sets the tone, but it's just putting together that full 40 minutes that has eluded us too many times this year.
We're coming down the home stretch where to have a shot at the conference tournament, every game is crucial. This weekend, heading to Oregon, a good Pacific team and a Lewis and Clark team that certainly showed us what they're capable of. How do you scout this weekend for the Pirates?
It's always nice playing a team for the second time in the conference season, just because there aren't really very many surprises or secrets at this point against yourselves or against the conference. I mean, comparative scores, don't mean much in our conference. Like you mentioned, we probably saw the best version of that Lewis and Clark team, and that should have us hungry on Saturday night. And then, Friday you have Pacific, who has maybe lost a couple of games that they don't think they should have, but then they had some really good wins against Whitman and Nunn played, and a couple other teams really tough. So it's like we know it's going to just take really solid and sound efforts on both sides of the ball in both games this weekend, and hopefully we can learn from the mistakes in both of those games and turn the result in our favor.